Hey guys, today I'm going to showcase my Tornado build. I was super excited to test Tornado in Season 1 because it was so strong in Season 0, and honestly this build just does an insane amount of damage in Season 1. So let's dive into the build. For the helmet slot, we're going to be using Tempest Roar. Tempest Roar is required for this build. I know it's a very tough item to get, but it is required as it lets us use Tornado in Werewolf form. For the chest piece, we're using Mad Wolf's Glee. This will give us +4 ranks to all Werewolf skills. Note the tooltip does say +3 ranks, but it's actually +4 when you fully upgrade this item. This means this is a pretty big boost for our damage. For our hand slot, we're using increased attack speed on critical strikes. This lets us ramp up our Grizzly Rage damage faster. You're going to want lucky hit chance, attack speed, critical strike chance, and 4 ranks to Tornado. For your pants slot, we're using Disobedience for more armor, 3 damage reductions, and then Willpower for extra damage. For our boots, we're using while Hurricane is active, gain +2 ranks to your shapeshifting skills. This will give us 2 ranks to Tornado every time Hurricane is up, which is quite often. It's important to note that you want spirit cost reduction and willpower on this slot, as this will help us with spirit cost issues and give us a little bit more extra damage. For our weapon, we're using Intercom. This will give us 30% increased damage while standing still, which will be standing still when we cast Tornado. And this is a pretty big damage boost. You'd be surprised how much this adds. You're going to want vulnerable damage, willpower, damage to close enemies, and core skill damage. For our amulet, we're using Direwolf's aspect. This will let us constantly throw out Tornado with no spirit issues. You want 3 ranks to Envenom, spirit cost reduction, and while I have 2 damage reductions, you want to replace one of these with cooldown reduction. It's very important to have cooldown reduction on this, as this lets you get your Grizzly Rage back for phase 2 of Uber Lilith. I do not have it, so when you see me kill her in the video at the end, I will have to put on this amulet for about 1/4 of the cooldown to get that cooldown reduction, to get it back in time for phase 2. For your rings, you're going to want critical strike chance, lucky hit chance, vulnerable damage, and damage to close enemies. I have max health on both of these, but I would need to replace them for more damage if possible. I have Rampaging Werebeast on 1 ring for increased duration of Grizzly Rage and increased critical strike damage, and then Retaliation for increased damage while fortified. For our offhand, we're using Tornado will seek out enemies. This is very important for the build. You want lucky hit chance, critical strike chance, cooldown reduction, and spirit cost reduction once again. Now for the hearts. So for our Wrathful Heart, we're using the Barber. The Barber is very strong in Season 1, and it's making Tornado do an insane amount of damage. But if you are not a Barber fan, you can also run this Wrathful Heart, and this will give us 25% attack speed, which means when we have our Blood Howl for 15% increased attack speed up, you will have a total of 105% attack speed total with this build, which is a ton of fun, but it is not as good as the Barber. For the second one, we're using every 5 seconds above 60% life. Core skills will cost life instead of primary resource, and will deal 28% increased damage. This is kind of nice for our spirit cost, but it's more important to get that extra 28% increased damage, as when you have 1,000% crit damage already racked up, this 28% is quite a bit. And then for the last one, I'm using a Brutal Heart, but if you can get a Vicious Heart, it would be even better, and you'd want to run, do I have it here? You'd want to run extra critical strike damage, as this will just push your damage even further. Now for Spirit Boons. For the first slot, we'll be grabbing 10% reduced damage from elites. From the second slot, we'll be taking increased critical strike chance and damage. And for the third slot, we'll be getting extended duration of ultimate skills. This extends our Grizzly Rage, which is very helpful. For the fourth slot, we'll be getting Calm Before the Storm. Tornado is a nature magic skill, which means we have a chance of reducing our cooldown of our Grizzly Rage every time we cast Tornado. This is very important to get our Grizzly Rage back before phase 2 of Uber Lilith, so we can skip her mechanics. For the skill tree, I'll run through it real quick. You want to max out Tornado, get the attack speed from Blood Howl, and we are using Debilitating Roar, as this is a bestial rampage build. We roar right before we pull Uber Lilith to get the increased damage, and we'll be able to kill her phase 1 and phase 2 in that 15-second window. You want to get all points in Envenom and Toxic Claws, max out these 3 points, max out Grizzly Rage, and grab Bestial Rampage. Now for the Paragon board. I'm just going to run through this real quick and show the boards and the glyphs. If you want a deeper look into the Paragon board, it will be in the D4 planner in the link below. For the first board, we're grabbing Territorial for the increased damage to close enemies and 10% damage reduction. We're then going to get Lust for Carnage for Spirit every time we critical strike, which is all the time. This is a must-have for the build. We're going to put in Guzzler in the second glyph slot. You can also put in Undaunted, as it will give you the same amount of damage increase, and you'll also get a 10% damage reduction, but I prefer Guzzler. On the left, we'll be getting Ancestral Guidance, and then moving up to get Thunderstruck. For this glyph slot, we'll be getting Spirit for the increased critical strike damage. We'll then be going to the Constricting Tendrils board to grab Outmatch in the glyph slot. This will give us 16% increased damage to non-elites and bosses. Tornado is a physical damage ability, so this is pretty good. We'll then be going back into the Ancestral Guidance board and putting in Fang and Claw. And then for the last board, we'll be getting Heightened Malice and putting in Exploit and getting every dexterity slot that we can get for more vulnerable damage. And that's it for the build. If you like this build and found it helpful, please like and subscribe. If you have any Druid build that you'd like to be covered in the future, leave it in the comments below. We'll be ending this video with an Uber Lilith kill. And until next time.